Everyone's always saying learn to code. Well, fine. Welcome back to Technology Boy. My name is Endeavorance. I'm a technology boy. Let's talk about code, programming, computers. I have spent more than half of my life in the tech industry being a programmer. I have a degree in it. I went to a whole ass college for it. But hey, it's 2026, and I'm also no longer working in the tech industry. And that's because I kind of fucking hate the tech industry right now. Especially in an era with all this just AI slop everywhere, and basically every tech company trying to claim that AI is the only way forward for everything. I want to push back on that a bit. One of the places that AI has taken off a lot, and when I'm saying AI, I'm referring to LLMs, ChatGPT, that kind of stuff. One of the places it's really taken off is in software development. There's a whole lot of like AI-powered tools out there that are supposed to help with programming, and in some cases are supposed to be able to do entire projects on their own. In fact, there's actually a term for people who tend to use these tools and often don't really know how to actually make an app otherwise. It's called vibe coding, trying to describe the app into existence rather than design it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the only way that is a valid way to make a piece of software is to do it by hand and get a degree and learn everything there is to know about code. But I do want to sit here and tell you that I think that you can understand how to program just fine. So while tech companies are actively discussing trying to use access to AI as a new form of payment, let's talk about how you can learn to code on your own. Now, I will say, this is not going to be a tutorial that's going to teach you to master programming by the end of this video, but I'm hoping that you, the viewer, who has any level of experience with computers, by the end of this video will understand at least how software works. So with that out of the way, what the fuck is code? Code is plain text instructions written by someone to tell a computer what to do using a programming language. Let's get more fundamental. Code is literally plain text in a file. That's it. If you've ever used Notepad, for example, or any app that can edit a plain .txt file, that's the same as a code file. It's just that instead of .txt, it's going to be like .java or .go. But inside these files is a bunch of text written in what's called a programming language, which is essentially just an attempt for humans to build some sort of language to tell a computer what to do. A programming language is usually pretty expressive and kind of looks more like English than ones and zeros like you might be used to from popular culture. So the code in these files gets run by the computer, and this is called executing the code. There's a lot of terms in programming that are pretty brutal sounding. It's not infrequent that you find yourself killing an orphan. That's just computing, baby. So code gets executed. It runs. And when it runs, the computer does stuff based on what the code tells it to do. The thing that tells the computer to do stuff from the code is called a runtime. Think of the runtime like a toaster and code like bread. You put the code into the toaster and then software pops out and it's toasted. It is at this point that you should know that like when I quote unquote write a script for something, it's like a bunch of bullet points of things I should mention. And then I just have to ad lib the rest because it's how my brain works. And that's what happened just then. That analogy is where I went. The runtime takes code and it works with the computer to do what the code says. I'm using runtime as an umbrella term here, and this is one of those moments where people are going to be cringing at my usage of these terms, but we're going to say that a runtime is just the stuff that takes the code and does things, and sometimes also code can be what's called compiled, where it turns into effectively zeros and ones that a computer knows. But if you're watching this, for example, on a web browser, you're in a runtime right now. What's up? Your browser is the runtime. You've loaded some software, which is the website. And now it's running stuff, like playing this video. So we've got your code and the runtime, but they're working with the operating system, the thing that actually runs your device. This is Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, the thing that's actually installed on your device that boots it up. The operating system, beyond just giving you an interface to tap into apps, is the thing that's providing all of the software with the base level utilities to function. I'm talking stuff like put data in file, or what time is it? Think of it like a kitchen. The kitchen has all the things that you need to cook, but a kitchen doesn't cook by itself. A chef comes into a kitchen, that's the runtime. They're the one that can interface with the tools in the kitchen to cook, but they need a recipe. That recipe is written by you, dear viewer. You're a programmer now, or a chef, or I guess a food blogger. Shut up, let's get to the good stuff. Let's run code and also write code so that we can stop being abstract about this. But before we run code, we're going to talk about a terminal, not the illness. Whenever you've been using some kind of computing device, you've probably been using what's called a GUI, a graphical user interface. Your home screen on your phone that you tap on an app to launch it, that's a GUI. You've probably seen in various hacker movies a terminal, the black box that has a bunch of green text in it. It's not always black and green, but we like it when it's like that. A terminal is just a text-based interface for working with a computer, and you can do virtually anything that you can do in a GUI in a terminal. Also, yeah, it is pronounced GUI. Often, you can be faster in a terminal than you would be with a visual interface, and I promise that's true even if it doesn't make any sense. I recall being told that when I was a fledgling technology boy, and I was like, there's no way that's possible. I virtually live in the terminal now. Like I use like a web browser and a terminal, and that's basically how I use computers. But you don't need to understand how the terminal works. All I need you to know for this video is that the terminal can be told to run some code and can output some text from that code. That's it. You just say, hey, terminal, run my code. And the terminal goes, okay. So let's code. We're gonna use a fake programming language. I made this up for this video, so what I'm about to show you isn't real code, but it simulates how code works. So I'm gonna show you some code and we're gonna walk through it and I'm gonna explain what it does and show you what it would output. Here is my submission for Game of the Year. It is a guessing game where you have to choose a number between 1 and 10, inclusive. If you get the number right, you get a wonderful message that tells you you're amazing and correct. If you got it wrong, you get it wrong. Either way, I'm going to thank you for playing. So again, it's just text, and I'm just telling the computer what to do in a structured way. So you'll notice that we have these commands here. Output, welcome to my game. That's going to tell the computer, I want you to spit out this text. So we're going to output two things to start. First, we're going to output, welcome to my game. Then we're going to output, I will pick a secret number from 1 to 10 for you to guess. Now, next is our first variable. And I want to preface real quick, you don't need to be good at math to be good at programming. I'm gonna say things that sound like math, and it sounds like algebra, a variable. I promise it's not that complicated. A variable is just a way for the programmer to say, get some value and use it later. In this case, we are going to let secret number equal a random number between 1 and 10. That's defining a new variable that's a random number between 1 and 10. I don't know what it is. It's a random number, but we need it later. Now that we've got our number, we're going to output that we are ready for your guess, and we're going to set a second variable based on the user's input. Those parentheses at the end are often an indication that you are invoking more work for the computer to do. It's called a function call, and it's a way to reference other code that you've written that does something else. So elsewhere in your code, you've made a thing called a function that will get the user's input. So we're saying that we're going to make a variable called user choice, and it's going to be whatever the user put in. Now, we're going to get logical as we do what's called an if statement. An if statement is a way to control what happens in the code based on different conditions. If this, then that. Otherwise, do something else. So in this case, if the user's guess is equal to our secret number, output, you did it, boy! But otherwise, if it's not equal to our secret number and they guess wrong, you fail. But either way, thanks for playing. So that's our code. Let's run it in a terminal. Boop. It outputs the thing. It's asking me for input. I'm going to guess 2. Oh, fuck, I got it wrong. But that's it. You just learned how to code. Where there's more stuff to this video still, but if you could follow that, you're good. Now, I'm not expecting you to take on the world with your newfound programming skills, because I haven't even taught you how to actually get set up and do it. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I just want to be clear. If you're still with me, you're golden. Let's go to a practical example. This is going to be a bit of a leap, but just trust me, we'll walk through it. This is some real code that's actively running in a custom Discord bot for my Discord community. We have a lot of weird random shit in our Discord community, and one of them is a channel called the Echoing Woods. And there's a rule that you can only shout in all caps in the Echoing Woods. And so I wrote a little bit of code for our bot that monitors that channel and removes anything that's not all caps. So here's the code that my Discord bot runs to make sure that people are shouting in the Echoing Woods. This is written in a programming language called TYPESCRIPT, which is sort of like a variant of JAVASCRIPT. Don't worry about that. We're starting by making a function that we can call. This is a function, as I said before, that's going to get called elsewhere. What this function does is it takes a message. It takes a Discord message, it analyzes it, and it's going to determine whether or not this message should be removed, and it's going to tell us whether or not this message should be removed by saying true or false. True if the message should be removed, false if it shouldn't. The first thing we do is break out the author, channel, and content from the message. This is just getting variables out of another variable. The message has a whole bunch of data. We want the author, channel, and content of the message. The next thing we do is an if statement. We're saying if the channel ID is not the Echoing Woods, or if the channel can not have stuff sent to it for some reason, return false. Return basically just says stop running the code and just be this value. The next thing we have to do is get rid of any custom emoji from the message. In Discord, custom emoji are often lowercase text, but that's allowed. You can use the custom emoji in your message. So gotta strip that. That's what this next line is. The next thing we need to do is if the message is just a URL, it's probably a link to an image, pass. And finally, one more conditional, if the message contains lowercase letters, remove it and send a message saying, stop that. And that's it. That's code that I've written and is actively running that like my community actively tries to break. Always. So that's enough digging through code. I think hopefully you get the idea that code is just some text in a file that's telling a computer what to do. It could be as simple as ask the user for input and compare it to a number, or it could be as complex as reach out across the internet and grab some data that is encrypted and decrypt it and authenticate that it is a valid thing from its original source by cross-referencing blah, 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 blah. It can get pretty wacky. And while, yes, there are AI tools that can produce output that is code, that's very different from understanding how to code, how to think about software, how to think about computers and what they do and how they work. I understand using something like an AI tool to help make the actual process of typing out a whole bunch of code a little faster, right? Like carpal tunnel exists, man, and it's a bitch. And code completion tools have existed for a long time, not needing this generation of AI. That doesn't mean this generation of AI hasn't brought new tools to the scene that do things that help people, but my point is trying to see programming as something that's going to go away and be completely replaced by AI is really short-sighted. There is like a meme already about people who are using these AI tools to vibe code entire apps, and then when they try to launch their app, they're wondering why nobody can access it, and it's because they don't know how to actually deploy an app. They just thought they did. Trying to deploy an AI-generated app is like going on the internet, finding an AI-generated image, printing it out, and saying, I painted this. And then being confused why no one wants your art. It's because it's not art and you didn't paint it. But okay, let's say you wanted to learn to code. Like you wanted to do more from right here. I got you covered. Here's some tips. First, pick how you want to play with the code. You either need to download a code editor, something like VS Code, or you can use an online playground. A lot of programming languages have a website that you can write the code in the website and run it and just play around with that. I'm going to link to all this stuff in the description as well, so no worries. Start very, very small. Start by just outputting hello world. From there, expand just a little bit. Look up some tutorials, try to output multiple things. Think about like another very simple little game and try to build that. I cut my teeth quite a bit on building little text adventure games. I found that to be an incredibly good way to learn how to program. I'll leave you with 4 suggestions for programming languages to check out that I think are relatively good for beginners and have a lot of information available for free to learn. First up, Python. This was always going to be first up. Python is wildly popular, wildly common. It is designed to be easy to learn for non-programmers. It has its own quirks. For example, white space matters in Python. So some people get tripped up on that, but largely it is a very solid first choice of programming language. Next up is JavaScript and TypeScript. They're virtually the same thing. TypeScript is basically JavaScript upgraded. A lot of people hate on JavaScript because they haven't used it since like the 90s and they don't know what they're talking about. JavaScript is what powers the internet. There's an unbelievable amount of resources out there for JavaScript. It is one of, if not the most popular programming language on the planet. And it runs in every browser. Makes that easy. Go! Lang. Possibly the hardest programming language to search for. You have to search Golang if you want anything about it. It's a compiled programming language that is maintained by Google. It was designed specifically to be easy to understand and look at because they basically wanted to have a language that anyone could just join Google and be like, okay, I think I can probably work with this. The last one that I'll mention is Ruby, and I will say that Ruby is kind of falling off compared to the rest of these languages right now, but Ruby is designed to be human readable. It tries very hard to look and feel like you're just writing English instructions to the computer. It misses the mark in some places, but it tries. All of these languages that I just mentioned, they all have playgrounds online, so you don't even have to install anything to play around with these programming languages. You don't need a terminal, you don't need an editor, you can just go to these websites, try writing some code, and hit run and see what happens. So the next time that you are on a device, which is right now, and you click on an app, think about how you just launched a runtime that's loading in the instructions, that's interfacing with the operating system to do all of this stuff. Think about what's happening under that screen and know that that was made by people and know that you can do the same. In future episodes of Technology Boy, I'm going to dive deeper into specific types of programming and including making your own website. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for being here. If you learned something or if you didn't, subscribe either way, and like and comment and share and all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Thank you. My name is Endeavorance. We'll talk again soon. Take care and be well.